In this video, we're going to touch on the installation process for our 280ZX rear window louvers. These pictured here are in raw aluminum. They're also available in black powder coat, and they're available from Skillard.com. So here we already have them installed, so I'm going to start pulling them back off so we can touch on some of the key pieces of the installation process. Okay, now that we're getting this pulled back off, when this comes, these brackets, these center brackets are already going to be attached with rivets, but you can see there's a little trim lock bulb seal that's on there, and you'll want to put that on probably one of the first steps, so that way as you get ready to mount the side pieces, you can test fit it to ensure that your width of the outer brackets is being mounted in the same spot. So we'll go in a little more detail on that here in a minute. The 5 in the center here that I've already removed, they're all the same. So there's not any particular order as to which louver goes where. However, the top and the bottom ones are different, and I'll get a close-up on that so you can see what the difference is. A thing to note is that the top one is the one with the S, and it has a smaller bracket underneath. Bulb seal's already on, and so that one's going to be at the very top. The next 5 are all the same, so it doesn't matter which order they go in as long as they're the 5 in the middle, not the top or the bottom one. And they have that larger bracket right there in the center. And the bottom one looks the same from the top side, but what's different is that it's got this different bracket underneath. And that's so that way the bulb seal sits on the glass, but we're not putting anything on the hatch paint. So after you've unboxed everything and you've put the bulb seal on the center bracket of the louver slats, the next thing is getting ready to mount your side brackets. So I've already test fitted these. You want to screw them together. The machine screws that go in here in M5, it's the same as the ones that go here, 3mm Allen wrench. And you're test fitting them to ensure that you set them with the right width, because if they're too narrow, then it'll bulge up in the middle and not sit snug against the glass. If they're too far out, you won't be able to get them on because they'll be too wide, and also you'll have some interference issues. So, but what I did here is I mounted the edge. See if I can get in close. The edge of the bracket is mounted with the edge of the hatch. So you can kind of see when I lift up the hatch, it's just right there in line. These screws are also, or the holes that these screws go into are slotted. So I'll unscrew this real fast. So even once you get it in, you do have a little bit of adjustability, but you want to make sure that you're pretty much in the right spot when you get it, so you can see that slotted. And so you're going to set them into place. You're going to mark the holes, use a center punch, and then you can watch our riv nut installation video, because you would, I use a 7mm drill bit to drill the holes, and then we'd be installing the riv nuts, so that way the M5s can secure into there. These are a little shorter. These are an M5 by 10. But once you get them all mounted on, it's nice and secure. Then you put the louvers on one at a time. You can clean underneath it just by reaching in there with a rag. If you really wanted to get after it, you can just pop them back off and have it exposed like this and get it all cleaned up. Another thing to point out is as far as alignment is top to bottom. And so this top of the bracket is relatively even with the stainless trim here, but that's another reason why we're going to test fit it before we screw the holes, is because you want to make sure that this top louver that runs across here doesn't interfere with anything that you got going on, and that you have the right clearancing and things you want at the bottom. So, you know, your wiper squirter probably could be removed if you're not gonna use it anymore, especially on this, like where the wiper is removed. We just haven't removed that yet, but obviously with the louvers, you're not going to use the wiper and stuff anyway. So, but as far as like alignment top to bottom goes, that's up to you and your discretion on how you want that to look and what clearances you want to have. Another thing I want to point out as far as mounting these side brackets and drilling the holes to put the riv nuts in is that if you mark them all at once and drill them and put all the riv nuts in, there's a real high possibility that they're not all going to line up. You'll find that, you know, you'll get to some and they'll be off. And so one way to help prevent that is you get the top one aligned, marked, drilled, put the riv nut in, and then actually put in your machine screw on the top. So that way you don't have a chance of this slightly shifting when you're marking. So then that way you can go to the next hole, mark it right in the center, move the bracket out of the way, drill it, install the riv nut, then come back, put a screw in it to mark the next one, move it, drill it, and so on. And when you do, it definitely does take a little bit longer, but when you do it, you have a lot better results with your hole alignment. Then, after you've got all your riv nuts in, you'd come along with the M5 by 10 millimeter machine screws, put them in, all these, you know, don't tighten them up, put one in at a time till you get them all in and they're loose, then come back through and tighten them down. The other side has already got the screws in. And then after you've got the brackets secured on both sides, we're going to grab the louver pieces and we'll get those installed. And again, you're going to use the 5 millimeter stainless steel machine head screws, and you're not going to tighten them. You're going to get them put in loosely on this side, do the same thing on the other side, get them all in there, and then come back along at the end and get them tightened down.